you believe only girls and women should be allowed to use women's bathrooms, if you believe only women should be allowed in women's prisons, if you believe parents have a right and responsibility to raise their children, and if you believe age-appropriate, non-pornographic learning material should be the only books in schools, then welcome. Estás en tu casa. You are home. Now your hosts, David Hernandez and Marianne Maldonado Bernal.
And here we are. Marianne, take a victory lap.
Woohoo!
I mean, we just, with Brianna's intro, we started, if you believe, and I know it's radical, if you believe only the women should be in women's sports, I mean, what is going on?
We have a new president, and we have a president that has common sense. He has logic, and he thinks like a normal, logical person. Why would anybody want a man in women's sports? I mean, didn't we fight as women against, men keeping us down? And now we are putting men in our sports. I mean, how does that make any sense?
Well, come on. Wasn't it the Woman of the Year was actually a transgender man?
I know. It is just crazy. I mean, I'm just so happy that Trump is rescinding all these crazy bills that have been passed during these last 4 years. And, now our children, our daughters and our granddaughters are going to have some safety now. We have somebody that's looking out for our daughters.
Well, and look at the response. Well, we know that the response from the left, they're running down the sidewalk with their hair on fire. I mean, they're doing a Richard Pryor thing. But when you have Martina Navratilova,
yes,
one of the leading lesbians in coming out of the closet, standing
yes.
up for women's sports, getting women's sports funded and recognized, and she came out and she just was like overjoyed. It's like it's really something to see.
Right.
That type of honesty from someone in the gay community that is actually stepping up and give me some common sense results.
It's just so interesting because there's Gays Against Groomers. They are on social media, and I follow them on social media because they are not this far left radical. When they say we're radicals, it's radical when you're chopping kids' body parts off. That's radical. And anyways, Gays Against Groomers, what I do give them credit for is I give them credit for the fact that they are out there. When we go to protest, they're protesting alongside us with all the mama bears that are fighting for their children, protecting their children. And so I give them respect in that way because, unfortunately, I feel some in our party that are, probably, on the gay side, which that's fine. But I never saw them out there with us protesting. And so
their silence was deafening.
Their
silence is still deafening.
Yes,
because you don't hear it.
Because they're gay Republicans, and that's great. But you know what? If you're not out there marching with us, and Gays Against Groomers is out there marching with us, there's something to be said right there.
Well, Caitlyn Jenner,
yes.
She came out, and I'm using the appropriate lingo. Caitlyn Jenner came out, and she also praised President Trump for basically standing there with Riley Gaines. Mm-hmm. And, he's definitely a showman because he was just surrounded by female athletes from, probably kindergarten all the way up to
yes.
the collegiate.
It was something. It was something to watch. I loved seeing all the little girls around his desk as he was signing and watching him give them each a pin. And I don't think they really realize the significance of this at their age. But it was just something, like you say, he is a showman. He knows how to do this. Mm-hmm. And it was just really kind of something to see all these young women and little girls as young as I think 4 and 5 years old were all standing around his desk. And, as a mother and a grandmother, just is very touching. I know people want to think of him as an orange man, the dictator, the fascist. I think that's just a mirror that they're looking at their President Biden that they had. That was him. Mm-hmm. But it's not this president.
I saw a Zoom meeting with Riley Gaines and also our friend Amy. Mm-hmm. Who has been fighting to get men out of women's prison.
That's right.
And so that's got to be next.
Yes.
Because and the statistic that I heard was that 15% of the inmates in women's prison are individuals that identify as women but are men.
Yes.
And what we learned from Amy is these are serial rapists.
Yes.
Who, in states like California, where all they have to do is self-identify as a woman, and they get sent to women's prisons,
Yes.
and they're terrorizing these women in prison.
And getting them pregnant.
I mean,
Yes.
Something's wrong if they have to put condoms in the women's jail cells.
Exactly. I mean, you just look at everything that's been happening, and you look at, I know Kamala was behind all of this transition in the prisons also. It was being paid by our tax dollars, right? And I don't remember them, ever running this by anybody saying that this is what they were running on, that they're going to be transitioning our prisoners and putting them in prisons with our women. So this stuff just is happening, and it all happens under the table very quietly. People don't know that these things are happening unless it's Republicans, conservatives, and mama bears pointing it out. So everything is very done on the down low. I mean, right now we have, we're spending billions, even on transitions for illegal aliens. I mean, this is just crazy. Where are we getting all this money? I thought we were like billions and trillions, billions in debt here in California, trillions in debt in, the USA. And where's all this money coming from?
Well, the good news is that the offshoot of this was that we saw that Children's Hospital has put a pause on
Amen. Thank God.
transition
Yes.
treatment.
Yes.
Now, there's something about it, maybe in the name. I didn't go to college, a little bit of junior college, but Children's Hospital doing transitioning of 12-year-olds,
It's insane.
13-year-olds, maybe 14-year-olds. You know what? If you're 18 or 21, that's your right.
That's right.
You know what? Go along to get along. But if a 12-year-old cannot get a tattoo, cannot vote, cannot drive a car, can't even figure out what they want for breakfast, and you're going to let them take their hormone treatment,
Yes.
and some of them to have permanent life-changing surgeries,
Yes.
they think we're the ones that are heartless. You know what?
We're the radicals. I mean,
you are radical.
I've never been thought of a
was the
radical,
voice
but
of
it's
Mr.
just
Don.
amazing how the gaslighting is, right? I mean, everything that they say we are, really, when you look at the facts, it's really the opposite.
I think you have to almost be a psychiatrist. Well, I don't want to say psychiatrist.
This is Dawn Monroe talking, just so we know. My voice didn't change. I didn't get the transition.
Right. Well,
What was in that water?
These are ideas that were actually framed by so-called, elite researchers about sexuality, and so the whole gaslighting. Sometimes we don't really go into it enough. We ourselves are sometimes, we're guilty of taking a position and repeating that position, and not really going into just how did they come to these conclusions.
Kind of like the silent position.
I mean, the silent position. Yeah, well, no. What I mean is, just because you say it over and over doesn't make it necessarily fact. I think sometimes we got to go into the mind of the beast, so to speak, right?
Yes.
And I think the mind is pretty much where their heads were at was that children, we have a mental illness crisis. Clearly, we do. And so what they did, instead of dealing with the mental crisis in the streets with the homousness, they said, well, let's capture them in their youth, and we need
elementary school,
and we're gonna fix these problems, in the elementary school levels. And what are the issues? Oh, some of them have problems with figuring out if they're male or female, and a lot of these problems I think were magnified by by not letting them just be kids,
Right.
they just went in and started just showing them all these things and
Well,
books.
you know,
and
I
stuff.
look at it as way deeper than that to me,
Yeah.
well, and I'm sure you do too when we get down to it.
To the root of it.
You know, this is an agenda. This is being pushed by a person or people that are what we say the billionaire elitist agenda, like George Soros. They're basically undermining our country.
They're definitely the actors, but okay. So then, what do they believe in, right? They believe that people are bad. They believe that population is bad.
Yes.
They believe that the more of them, the more of you there are, the more dangerous you are, and maybe to their elitist style. I mean, if you don't want. I go back to slavery times here in the U.S. It's like, man, there's a lot of slaves out there, and there's like 4 of us in the big house. That should be pretty intimidating. But it's wild that even then, they were able to maintain. I'm sure the ratio was a lot more slaves out there working the fields than the people who were managing the fields, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so we have handlers, right? We have these handlers that are handling our education system, that are handling our medical advice, right? All of these agencies that DOJ is kind of putting a light onto is like, look at what they are doing, and look at how they're going about it.
Yep.
And U.S. aid, right?
Yes.
Which has been all over the news this week.
This week was big. Yes.
It was enormous. They're showing now that it's not even just that our kids are having to have these perverted things put in front of their faces, but that the rest of the world is too.
Oh, yes.
It's
They're
not-
using our money.
Using our money.
Sending all over the world.
And then you wonder why they're like, death to America. It's like, well,
Yes.
come on. They're saying it because they know where the money's coming from.
This is treasonous. What's going on is treasonous. Okay, we have, when they keep saying unelected officials, well, you know what? George Soros, Bill Gates, Rothschilds, all these people are unelected officials.
Wait a minute. Now you're starting to sound like the Dan because they're saying Elon Musk. We didn't elect him.
And they are unelected officials, but they are the ones that are basically they're buying out just about all the Democrats and some Republicans.
Well, look what George Soros' son, and I think the Blaze did an article about Blaze, and he literally says, I would never want to be a politician. I have more power than all the politicians.
Yeah.
Just in what I'm. So they are running these types of. I forget George Soros's. What was it?
What is it called?
Those NGOs. No, but wait a minute. We have somebody calling in, so let's go. Let's bring them on because they've been waiting for a while. Go ahead. You're on the air. Who is it?
Hi, this is Kent.
Kent. How are you, Kent?
I am doing fine, thank you. And how are you?
Not bad for a man my age. You're on the air live. There's like 2 million people in the greater LA area listening to you.
Okay,
And
good.
so we want to thank you for hanging on for 12 minutes, Kent. I mean, that's a record.
Okay. I have some ideas about what you were talking about last week.
Okay.
Things
Well,
that could be done.
remember, I'm 76, so you're going to have to refresh my memory.
Okay, it was about illegal immigration,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to tell you there's one court case in the 19th century where someone born in the USA.
Oh,
was
I know what you're
denied
talking about. Yep.
citizenship,
Go ahead. Uh-huh.
And
14th Amendment.
you can ask Richard A. Nixon for the details about it.
Mm-hmm.
Guy that comes on tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. I was
The
gonna
lawyer.
say, wait a minute. Is that, do I have to go to the library to read his memoirs? But no,
No,
you're
no.
right. Richard Nixon. I've met Richard Nixon. He has a great show.
Yeah. But anyway, what my idea was to let those who meet the productivity test, who are therefore helping make the USA great again, stay. And if they go to the back of the line for legal immigration and go through the vetting process and help pay the fees of those already in line as well as their own. Then
Kent, you're making too much sense. Now remember, during the demonstrations at all the universities against Israel, and they would say from the river to the sea, what you're hearing on the streets today is no one's illegal on stolen land. And so they're coming up with that same argument that, they're not the ones that that are being are the occupying force that we're occupying.
But you know the most interesting thing about this is that as I'm going through all the social media pages and you keep hearing it's Mexico, the Mexicans, and in reality, in talking to Tom Homan, talking to Victor Avila, that is not the priority. The priority has nothing to do with race.
Hey, all those Venezuelan
it's the criminals,
that they've been rounding up.
Yes.
Russia, China,
Yeah.
you name it. The trained militants that came in, that is their priority. That's who President Trump is going after right now. The people who are committing crime, the people who have publicly said they hate this country. All this smokescreen with what's going on with the Mexican rallies and so on, it's just a smokescreen. And
Ken,
we're
you know
trying
what we
let
want to
people
do,
know.
Ken, is we want to bring you back because we want to do a little more research because the 14th Amendment is definitely is being challenged, and so you bring up a great point. So probably in about 2 weeks, can you call us back again after give us a chance to see where President Trump is on the 14th Amendment?
Okay, hopefully I'll be able to.
All right, great. Thank you,
Ken.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, and so now we're waiting for Oscar to call in, right?
Yeah, Oscar was going to call in, and we're talking because on the subject that you were talking about, Don, we talk about, and Marianne, how the elites are pretty much taking over the media. That was step one. When you talked about changing the mindset in the schools, that was intentional. That was started 25, maybe 30 years ago with the unions and the Democratic Party so far to just kind of to destroy the nuclear family.
It goes back further than that. I mean, my family was part of this, civil rights movement here in Los Angeles, and I've told it actually a couple of years ago on this, when we were in the smaller studio, and it was that when my stepmother was Japanese and my mom's Hispanic, and we have everything in our family. It's like Black American, Native American. But the thing is that we were all about everybody looking out for each other, much like how the LHRC club is. It's got all types of shapes, colors, what they believe in as far as religion and everything. We come together on the issues. And, faith, family, freedom, free enterprise. And, even back then, what was interesting that my mother had told me then was that, okay, we got everyone got this, equal education. That seemed like a win, right? That sounds like a win, equal education. And then all of a sudden, all of the programs at a lot of the inner city schools that had primarily Hispanics,
ESL
Black
programs.
Americans, all these advanced programs were just disappearing. It was like they complained. And eventually, someone from the Department of Education came to talk to the parents and the heads of these parent PTOs.
Yes.
And they told them, like, look, everybody, we understand. Calm down. They're like, but you guys got what you wanted. You asked for equal education. You didn't ask for quality education.
Right.
Wow.
So you weren't specific enough.
And everybody's breath was lost right there because they understood something that happened there.
Right.
The so-called win, at least those people in the room, the so-called win of equal education was actually putting everybody on the same level. And so therefore, it wasn't to have any advancements. It wasn't to have
Right.
certain people excel. It wasn't
merit. It was again like a socialist
and it wasn't
type
about you being
Here we go.
skilled.
Yes,
It wasn't
yes.
about you having a gift.
Yes.
We're not gonna water that gift. We're not gonna add sunlight. We're not gonna, and so, it's kind of like the whole concept of no child left behind. I think that was the Clintons. No child left behind. Well, that means no child gets ahead.
Yeah,
That's right.
I mean, they always have
progressively worse.
They make they were
Yes.
progressives. They were hooting and hollering. I don't hear that as often anymore because they realize that people say, "Well, we're tired of this progressive
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Everything's getting progressively worse."
And the reason why I put that out there is because our caller right now who's calling in is what I was leading into is the next step that they're jumping over the hurdle is to take away our freedoms. So I want this caller to explain what happened in the city of San Fernando. Oscar, are you there, buddy?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Hi, Oscar.
Hi. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing good. Oscar, so tell us a little bit about what happened over there in the city of San Fernando.
For the protest, the day of the
Yes.
Yeah, the smashing of the windows because somebody had a Trump flag?
yeah. So they were just passing by, and they had no intention to stir the pot. They had nothing like that. all they want to do is just say, look, we're just like you too, and we have a different perspective. We stand for Trump. Maybe just do a little bit more of your research on it, but that was it. But they started attacking his car, automatically went towards his car and started hitting his car, throwing things at it, trying to break. They broke his window, and it was just the whole crowd just ran to his car and just kept hitting and trying to break his window and hit whoever was driving and all of that stuff. And they're not doing anything. The cops just tried to stop the crowd out, and then nobody got arrested. Nothing, And it's not fair that some people can't share an opposite view of their perspective,
And the interesting, Oscar, is that as we're doing research, making phone calls, trying to find out what is the action, what are the consequences that the individuals are going to pay, and what they're saying is that this person had no reason. He had no his only reason for driving down that boulevard was to incite violence. Really, the guy lives in the city. The guy lives literally 3 blocks away from where the incident took place. And that's kind of the position that they're taking right now. Am I clear?
That's that's where they're coming from their own bias.
Yes.
So you're saying that the First Amendment and the right to demonstrate is okay for those individuals that were protesting the deportations, but if you have an opposite opinion and all you're doing is flying a flag, and intentionally driving through there to demonstrate your opposite position, that's a criminal offense.
Absolutely.
So what happened to his free speech? Taking him out of the picture, whether it was intentional or not.
Absolutely.
That was a public street. Mm-hmm. The First Amendment gives him the right to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Not only that, if he had intentions to go inside violence and do all of that stuff, he knew what was coming. He could have got off the car and continue and do exactly what he was meant to go do, if that's what they're trying to say. If he wanted to insult violence, they could have gone on the car and start fighting, and they could have gone with a carload of people to go strictly to insult violence, And I don't know how they're trying to manipulate the story too, because we've done other protests, and they come with their flags, and we just allow them to share their opinion. We don't go over there and we don't fight them. We don't go over there and insult them and break their car, try to do all of this crazy stuff and start saying bad words to them of whatever their opinion is, and not let them have their free speech.
Yeah. Oscar.
So they don't speak about that. They
True.
don't talk about that. They don't say, okay, what about the opposition when we have our rallies or we have our when we have our gatherings
2 minutes
and the opposition shows up, we don't hit them with violence, and the narrative only gets pushed when it's on their side,
Well, Oscar, we appreciate the fact that you're a hardworking businessman. You've got your family. You're probably the age of my my oldest son, and we thank you. We thank you for the courage, your willingness to stand up, the fact that you love this country. I thank you for all the projects that you're doing with the youth. What you're doing out there with the youth in San Fernando, and I know it's not only limited to the youth in San Fernando, but the programs that you're offering them is life-changing. So, Oscar, on behalf of the Los Angeles Hispanic Republican Club, we want to say thank you, brother, for all the work that you do.
Thank you, Manito, and thank you guys too. You guys really spreading out a lot of awareness, and a lot of people are waking up.
Yes.
Especially a lot of people in our community are starting to pay attention what's really going on, how they're manipulating the whole story and everything that's actually holding our community back. I don't know why don't they teach these kids to start protesting about taxes, and then they can afford to start paying. They can afford to start paying lawyers to fix papers for their family members.
Well, Oscar, there it is, buddy.
Confused. They got our youth confused.
Yes.
It's wild how.
Got to come to a club meeting so we can talk about some of these solutions.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what, Oscar? Just you definitely. I'm thankful that you're willing to get more involved, and once again, thank you for all you do, my brother. God bless you.
Well,
guys,
and you're doing so at your own risk. I mean, we have to give a disclaimer because we were looking at the front page of the San Fernando Sun going back when Pickles tried to go to the San Fernando Library. And, back then, So here we were exercising our rights to demonstrate, and we're
Yes.
right-wing extremists. And
Right.
Well, you know what? We need more right-wing extremists to step up.
Hey,
and,
you should be on the radio.
and run for office. It's like we need people to run for office.
There's your
because-
call, Oscar.
Yes,
All right.
that's what we need.
Oh, that's right. Yes. San Fernando. All right, Oscar, thank you.
Thank you,
See
Oscar.
you soon.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
You too.
All right. And that takes a lot of courage because we know how that town can be vindictive.
Yeah.
And so we'll be right back with the Los Angeles Hispanic Republican Club. We have a full house. I feel like Art Linkletter. And that's you. Most of you are too young to remember who that is. And Marianne goes, she doesn't know who that
I
is.
have no clue.
I don't know.
I was kidding. And look at that. They don't know. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Trying to make sense of the markets? Looking to diversify out of all the craziness? Thinking about tangible assets like precious metals? Listen to The Gold Show with Kenny Michaels, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Kenny is a national talk show host with decades of experience in the markets to share with you. Stay up to date on retirement trends, how the IRA rollover process works, and why investors are turning to physical gold. Tune in for Kenny's insights and The Gold Show, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. right here at AM 870, The Answer.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Paid for by WildfireLegalPros.com.
Attention Los Angeles. Don't let this disaster define your future. The recent wildfires, Eaton and Hearst, have caused over $250 billion in destruction, leaving families and communities in ruins. If you or a loved one was injured, or your home or business was damaged or destroyed by flames, smoke, or other causes, you may be owed significant compensation. We are here to fight for you. Call 800-449-8319 now to see if you qualify. This is your chance to hold those responsible accountable and rebuild what you've lost. It's fast, free, and could change everything. Whether it's property damage, smoke contamination, or personal injury, we will stand by you every step of the way. Act now. The financial impact is devastating, but you don't have to face it alone. Call 800-449-8319 now. Your home and your future are worth fighting for. Don't wait. Call 800-449-8319 now. That's 800-449-8319. 800-449-8319.
Hello, this is Captain Rick inviting you to the Boating Hour every Saturday at 4 p.m. The Boating Hour is filled with news, information, and entertainment about sailing and boating. Each week, the Boating Hour will bring you the latest and greatest essential info about the high seas of Southern California. There'll be something for everyone, from land lubbers to old salts. So tune into the Boating Hour with me, Captain Rick, every Saturday at 4 p.m., right here on AM 870, The Answer.
The Answer. Breaking news.
More storms could be headed for Southern California. The National Weather Service is warning that a significant storm could hit the area around the middle of the week. The region is expected to see between 1 and 2 inches of rain along the coasts and valleys, with foothill and mountain areas getting 2 to 4 inches. Moderate rain totals from this week's storms have helped burn zones in the LA area remain relatively stable. I'm Larry Marino on The Answer with breaking news and talk you can trust.
The Los Angeles Hispanic Republican Club thanks you for your positive impact on the 2024 election. With over 1 million Republicans, LA County can drive the conservative movement in California. Join David Hernandez, the California Republican Party Regional Vice Chair, to bring new leadership to the LA County Republican Party. And listen to the Los Angeles Hispanic Republican Club show Saturday nights at 9 p.m. on AM 870, The Answer.
AM 870. The Answer. Mistrust, division. It's not what we're moving towards.
David Hernandez from the Los Angeles Hispanic Republican Club show. You are listening to AM 870, The Answer.
Thanks a lot. And we're back, Marianne. And, as hard as it may seem to believe, but there are so many different conservative Hispanics out there.
Yes.
that have risen up to say, basta.
That's right.
No mas. Leave our kids alone.
Yes.
And so we're fortunate indeed to have Socorro Pinedo on the line, and we're going to go ahead and bring Socorro on. Socorro is the vice president of Latinos for America First. So welcome, Socorro. You're on the air.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Yes, nice to be here. This is so great. Thank you for the opportunity to be on air with you. I'm really excited. A little
What-
bit nervous. But
Now,
excited.
Socorro, you're a little bit north of the Los Angeles area. Is that correct?
I am south of the Los Angeles area. I actually live in the high desert.
Oh, the high
in
desert.
San
Oh, okay,
Bernardino
nice.
County.
Yeah. Now, Marianne is. We were at a meeting today where we had a lot of different people, a lot of
Yes.
really cross section of individuals that are really standing up for, for conservative values and really, fighting back.
That's
and so, your organization. I know you guys have been doing it since what 2016.
Yes, 2016.
Yeah.
What made you get involved in this way?
In 2016, I heard one voice, and it was one of the co-founders of Latinos for Trump here in California. His name is Marco Gutierrez, and I don't know if you remember Marco Gutierrez. He was a taco truck in every corner guy.
I didn't know.
When Donald Trump decided to run for office, I really wasn't in politics or any of the sort, but I just thought it was funny. I thought it was interesting. Mr. Pageant is going to run for office. Interesting.
I had the same thought.
Oh, yeah. So, but at that point in time, what I started looking at and noticing was the drastic change in the country. Just the tone of politics was really a very weird, strange, very oppressive tone. And I thought, you know what? Maybe this is what we do need. So I started paying attention, and I just had this overwhelming need to help, activate, maybe not be in the running around after the cameras or, in the street, doing all these things. But I called Marco back then, and he put me in contact with the other co-founder of Bianca Gracia, which is the president of Latinos for Trump, now director of Latinos for America First. So we got in contact and we started working. And I mean, ever since then, it's been nonstop. We have been volunteers since 2016. Our organization is made up of volunteers. And that's one of the things that we're very proud of, that the people that work with us and have worked with us are in it because they care. They're in it because it's real for them. They're in it because they see that they can have an influence and impact, and it's for our children, for, our future grandkids or, down the line. And we love this country. We love this country. This is our home. This is where we were raised. This is, where we came to.
Now, were you a conservative at that time, or did you switch?
I was always raised to be a conservative person.
Okay.
Now, I was not raised to be a political person. I was never raised to be a political person. My mother was actually a Democrat. I never understood why. But I was looking, I was in a teenager years, and I was wondering,
Tell her why, David. Tell her why that's tell her why that happens.
Well, it was easy. There's just like, I don't know where we
you mentioned
the lie.
Well, you mentioned that when you went there to get people signed up to the Republican Party, there was no booth. It was only the Democrats.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was, what was it? Right after people made their pledge and got their citizenship,
Yeah.
it was like,
Oh, yeah.
and it was just like, and you're there.
Yeah.
And they're confused, like, well, what's this guy doing here?
Yeah. It's like, well, but Socorro, it's, and that was 2016. We've been at this since for a while as well. And it's something because in the beginning, they really saw us as a threat. Hispanic, conservative, Hispanic Republicans asking questions and sharing the information
I don't
with
even know if it
others.
was a threat. I think they saw us as in Spanish, this is un way.
Uh-huh.
They saw us as idiots. Really, they really saw. Look, when they got there, it was just assumed by the color of your skin and that you did speak English that you should be with the Democratic Party. It was just, that's the way it's been marketed. And right now, you know, they've been able to take advantage of that situation. And you said it yourself, like, what was one of the things that it was a Democratic leader that says, I think the Democrats.
Or taking Hispanics for granted?
Yeah, because my biggest fear is that they've taken them Hispanics for granted for too long and going. And so now all of a sudden you have these Democrats coming out trying to take credit. Like, we were always for, not shoving this pornography in our kids' faces, or we were always about. It's like, well, wait a second.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, these moderate Democrats who sat back and did nothing and allowed it to happen are now saying, "Oh, well, we don't agree with that." But Socorro, when you look at throughout the country, when you look at how many Hispanics voted for President Trump, I mean, that horse has left the barn. I mean, there's no stopping us now.
Correct. We have been very, very fortunate to be able to work, and we worked really hard in some of those swing states. We worked in Michigan, Arizona. We have the first Hispanic House rep up there, Steven Montenegro. He's one of our advisors. And in Nevada as well, we have a school board person in Nevada.
Sorry.
And we worked here in California as well. We had a chance to work here in California, in Riverside County. Very interesting. The demographic, just the people, the Hispanic people. We're talking about some first, second, third, fourth generation Americans of Mexican descent that love this country. They realize what the sacrifice that the parents have made, their parents or their ancestors have made. They realize that sacrifice was for them to come and to be Americans. And one of the issues that I see now, as we look out into these protests, and it was really sad to see one video that I saw was a person posting a child that was sitting on his couch or sleeping on his couch, and he said, and the caption was, "My son does not want to go out. He has been in the house for 2 days because he's afraid of being deported, yet he was born in the United States. He is an American, thinking that he's going to be deported." And that's really sad for me, for my culture, my people, to think that, hey, there was a sacrifice that was made in the past, for their kids to be born American in a free country, full of opportunities. And it's really sad to see that they're basically enslaved and caged because of the parents' fear, because of what they think they're victims, they think they're being victimized. And that to me is very sad. But
yes, I know. I know Trump made it clear. I mean, he made there was a post that he made on I want to say was it Truth Social on his social media, and it was kind of a post showing like this is what they want you to believe, but this is what it is, and meaning that they want you to believe that they're dragging moms with their kids out and sending them back to their home country. And then the other picture that's right next to it is where they're basically getting all the gang members with all the tattoos and basically saying, this is what it is. We're getting all these gangs out of here. We're getting these people who are murderers, rapists, drug dealers. And he posted this on his social media. Right. So, there is a lot of fear mongering. A lot of people are talking about it. But nobody ever posts any videos of moms and babies and grandmas being deported. There's nothing being posted. And I'm not saying it will never happen. I'm sure there are times. I know with Tom Homan, he did mention that, if there's, if you're a person hiding one of these criminals and you're in the way, you might be deported also if you're here illegally. So the best thing to do is stay away.
Man, when I was a kid, I wasn't scared of no deportation. I wasn't scared. You know what? If they said, I'd rather someone say I'm calling the police than call my mom. I was like, shoot.
Yes, right.
Don't
Back
call
in the day,
my mom.
that's the way it was.
Don't call my dad. You know what? If you want, take that stick and just do what you got to do. I'll never do whatever it is that I did wrong again. And it was it. You know, but we have here a media that has been weaponized to manufacture fear. And, you know, unfortunately, they're experts at it.
And not to mention the politicians that are allowing all these
they're
schools.
part of it.
They're pushing the schools and allowing these young teenagers, which is so sad because you see there's a 17-year-old now that was stabbed. He's in critical condition. You saw on the freeway cop cars that were, you know, just trying to guide the traffic, and all these people jumping on top of the cop cars, breaking the window. Somebody fell off the cop car, and another cop car tried to come and help, and they started jumping on that cop car. And it's like, you know what? You're not going to win people over with this behavior.
Socorro, is your mom now a Republican?
Unfortunately, my mom passed away some
Oh,
years
I'm sorry to hear.
Sorry.
Well, my mom turned 80, and she was able to tell everybody that she's finally a Republican, and she was the same. She was a Democrat, but she was very confused about what was being promoted. You know, and I'm sure there's a lot more people out there.
I don't think they realized that they got swindled into the Democrat Party coming out of their oath.
Yes.
I don't think they realized there was a different option.
Yeah, and you're right.
I don't think they realized that.
And David, you were talking about that earlier today about going and
default, yes, just by default.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't get in trouble, but sometimes I do because I say some things that maybe people don't like.
Well, you may be too young to remember George Carlin, but no swear words because we're on AM radio.
Join the crowd.
Right, we're talking about these protests, and you know what? I see why they would do this. I don't understand why you're protesting the U.S. government, but you want the U.S. government to let you stay here. I mean, there's people. A lady got arrested for dropping the American flag from a flagpole, raising the Mexican flag.
Yes.
And telling the officers, "You can't deport me because this is Mexico." The propaganda, and I will say it comes from a source. And if anybody saw Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, she broke out with her wall-sized map. Look, this used to be Mexico, and this was our land. Blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, really, like, you're not helping. The propaganda, the false information, the stolen land story, you know, it was the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo.
Yep, right down the street from us here.
Sold the land, and Mexico was in deep debt. And they couldn't even manage the land, so they just sold it.
They didn't even pay the braceros.
Yeah, right. They still owe them millions of dollars.
I thought it was in billions.
Billions. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, in Mexico they sold it for 15 million, right? It was 15 million.
15 million.
Yes.
And I keep telling people, look, if you want, and this is my anger, and it's embarrassing to see people that come from where my parents come from, people that were raised, you know, conservative, people that were raised to be respectful to their elders, you know, that to be respectful of their family, to put God first in everything they do, to put family first, and to put their su patria, their nation first. And to me, it's embarrassing to see the street and the violence, and you know, they're jumping on the cop cars, they're pushing people around, they're stabbing. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, okay, so fear drives people to do crazy things, and they wave the flag, the Mexican flag. I love the Mexican flag. There's nothing wrong with the Mexican flag. But my flag is the American flag because I was born here. I love this country. And what I tell people is, you know what? If you wanted to have kids that were Mexican, you should have had them in Mexico.
Right?
All right. So what do you?
All right. You know what? That's a little bit too hardcore even for us. We're gonna have to let you
go. All right. Well, Socorro. We have to really get to a very touchy subject.
Okay.
And so we'll just be right up front.
Keep your hands to yourself, David.
Keep my hands to myself. Keep. You know, the ride is in motion. Keep all your hands and feet inside the ride. Socorro, and I want you to be truthful. Menudo or pozole?
pozole.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Next thing you know,
Why, but pozole.
next thing you know, it'll be Latinx for America first. Come on. We have to laugh, Socorro, you know, because it is so tragic what's happening. Thank God.
I recently got together with a group of pastors,
Mm-hmm.
and they were advocating, and they're trying to work out something. They're trying to work with legislators, and they're trying to say, hey, like, what do the people want? Hey, pastors, you on the ground, what do the people want?
Well, pastors in the past didn't want to get involved. They were just like, it's, you know, we're not a political organization. We don't want, but you know what? You're right. There are more pastors who are starting to say, yeah.
Yes, there are some pastors that that are asking questions of what's happening. You know, the thing with the pastors with me again, I always say things, and here I go. Well, they're worried about like the people being deported. Number one, illegal is illegal. Period. The laws are the laws.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And for now, the right is crazy, and it's going to be crazy for a while. We understand that we've been told that they're deporting criminals, violent criminals.
Yes.
So to focus, I just tell people, do not hang around with the baddies. No se junte con la chusma, you know, because if you're hanging around with and it's really sad, but it's true. A lot of people harbor their kids, my nephew, their gangs. There's different people that are very persona no grata. And unfortunately, you know, if other people get caught in the mix, you know, they are getting taken.
Yes.
But I've also heard of people that have been taken along with, you know, criminals that they were looking for. And they've been released because they don't have a criminal background.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen that.
A little bit of everything.
That, you know, and that's important to point out, Socorro, because I've heard that as well.
And that's important.
Yeah.
I mean, because you have people that are just because they even went so far to be like, look, if you have a DUI, right? Even if you're, you know, and you had a legal residency here, that potentially that you could still be deported. I mean, they were a real big stretch here. They wanted to capture as many people as possible into this fear-mongering group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or get them, you know, just get them worried, get them stressed. So yeah, it's. I like that you're giving some perspective, Socorro, on the whole thing.
There is an offensive, view. Oh my gosh, this is so offensive, and this is so scary that here's Trump is allowing ICE to go into churches and schools. I will tell you, I believe as a group, we were the group that went out there in South Texas. This is why South Texas turned red, because we happened in South Texas. And thank God that we were able to do all this work there. We started the Trump trains in South Texas. We started all that movement, and from there it just shot out, you know, throughout the nation. But pastors are worried. You know, some the churches, the schools. Well, you know, not everybody that says I'm a good Christian is a good Christian. And if somebody's hiding, and if they're going to be hiding in a church, if they can't find them at home because they have numbers and addresses.
Well, the other thing, Socorro, the other thing on that is Tom Homan was interviewed, and he was saying that he doesn't want to go into schools and he doesn't want to go into homes, but he's left with no choice because these Democratic sanctuary states, when they take these criminals to jail, and they end up releasing them instead of calling ICE to pick them up where it's safe for everybody to go get them and then deport them. The sanctuary cities will not call them up. So basically they're forced. And so that's what Tom Homan says. He says, I'm forced to go into schools and into a lot of these kids belong to gangs. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They belong to a lot of these gangs. And so they're going to go into them because these sanctuary states, these governors and these mayors will not allow them to go to the jails. They will not call ICE up to pick them up from the jail.
Not only are they looking for these people, they have names, addresses, numbers. If they can't find them at home, if they can't find them at work, and they so happen to tail them into the church, that's where they'll find them. I will tell you, working with the people in the border, we have Rolando Rodriguez, which is the founder of the Trump Trains. he has been out there. He says, Socorro, you know what? He tells me there's kids in the detention centers as young as 12.
Yes.
Raping other children. And it's a hard reality, but that's what's happening. So if they need to find people, they need to find them. We cannot say, oh, poor people, because we don't know. We don't know who they are. We don't know. And I'm not saying everybody's a criminal and everybody's evil. No. But we need to protect our kids. And sometimes, and with the type of children that they've been hurt, they've been abused, they've been exposed, coming from Guatemala or coming from Central America, South America, they have been, and I've known this since we've been tooting the horn since 2020. And, they're using the kids, they're pimping the kids, these kids are very, very well aware of a lot of things. And unfortunately, in their small, child mind, they think this is just normal practice, and they will do that to other children within the schools, or they were doing that inside the detention centers. So
Yes.
It's really sad. And that's one of the things with that we were explaining
2
to
minutes.
pastors. We really don't know. A lot of people are come hurt. Our school systems are looking for, help with counseling, because such a large influx of kids have come in and they're traumatized, PTSD. So now we have to cover that because we understand they're hurt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Socorro,
They're
we're just about out of time for the show. So how can people find out more about Latinos for America First, or how can they follow up and contact you?
We're on all social media, Latinos for America First, and our webpage is latinosforamericafirst.org. And again, we're always looking for members, people that want to be activated, people that want to help in the movement. And of course, we're always looking for any help to keep us going, any financial donations that we can get. That would be awesome and appreciated. We're all volunteers. And like I said, latinosforamericafirst.org is our webpage.
All right, great. Thank you. And we'll talk to you again. Keep up the fight. Thank you, Socorro.
Bye, Socorro.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
I don't know. I don't know about Rudy and Lucy though with the menudo. I don't know what's going on here.
Well, here we are. We only got about a minute left, so we got a lot going on.
Yes.
And hopefully by this time next week, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be the head of the
Human Health
yes,
Services.
yes.
Good Health Services. The FBI will have a new leader with Kash Patel. We just saw Pam Bondi got, within an hour.
What happened to Tulsi Gabbard? Is she in?
No, not yet.
No.
So we still got Tulsi Gabbard, coming up this week as well. But it's an exciting week, and one of the things we want to do, and I think we'll kind of take this on as a project. They'll be starting the new census next year. Now, the way that works is whether someone is legal or illegal, they are counted in the census. And based on population, they add more congressional seats.
Oh.
And so the states with the highest number of illegal immigration, they stand to get more congressional seats, which means the Democrats want to have more power.
Yes.
Because the people
There's a
here,
reason.
Because the people here are awake. We're way beyond woke, and so they need new sheep. So we need to look at that. So thank you, everyone.
Good.
Don Monroe, thank you for joining us, and Ryan, thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, everyone.
God bless.
You have been listening to the Los Angeles Hispanic Republican